If you'd like to know what you're watching, click here. And as always, link to the blog post in the doobly-doo. I recently read a book by Eileen Welsom called The Plutonium Files. It's about the Manhattan Project and scientists who studied plutonium's effects on the human body. They weren't just in charge of building an atomic bomb, they were also trying to find out if plutonium could be used as a biological weapon. They wanted to know if it could be used like radiation therapy, like for cancer patients. So they started injecting humans with plutonium. If you've ever read D.W. Gregory's play Radium Girls, that's a pretty good summary of what happened to women who worked in a watchmaking plant, where they would coat the watches with radium and it would glow. But then all these women got radium poisoning and they got sick and died, and their jaws fell out because they were putting the brushes in their mouths. So basically, the Manhattan Project doctors had all this knowledge about what radioactivity could do to the human body, and they continued to perform experiments by putting plutonium into humans' bodies. And in just about every case, they were doing this without the consent of the patient, without the knowledge of the patient. This kind of mirrors the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, where basically they took a bunch of men in the rural South who had syphilis. They had the means to cure them of syphilis, but they didn't, so that they could observe the effects that the disease had on the subject. We live in a world where people are curious. It's not out of the question for people to do things that are in morally gray areas, or even things that are indefinitely morally off limits. It's because people believe that it's an excuse that if, in the long run, if it helps enough people, that it's okay that we took advantage of those few people. This goes back to something that I talked about in the fossil fuels video. Change for the better is not financially, politically expedient. It's not convenient. It's not going to be easy. And we can't take the easy route to learning about things like plutonium and syphilis if the easy route means trampling on the rights of a few people in order to garner more protections and freedoms for a greater group. That paradigm shift that I've been talking about, when we live in a world where advancement of technology and advancement of human freedoms and rights is not going to involve the curtailing of some freedoms and rights of individuals while advancing them for others. As always, I want to know your thoughts. Leave them in the comments. Link to the blog post down below too. See you tomorrow. Just want to throw a quick shout out to dormset.com. It's a really cool website for amateur musicians, so you can put your own music up there. You can collaborate with other artists on the website. It's a pretty cool resource if you're just starting out as an amateur musician.